interesting one.
right?
And I'm actually glad that we're doing it today instead of yesterday because I didn't look at it till Sunday night.
Oh,
And
yes.
so I didn't even have a chance to do anything. And so it worked out because I had to take my sister to the doctor yesterday.
Oh, was she okay, or was it just
Yeah,
checkup?
just
Okay,
checkup. But still,
good.
what a great opportunity to observe people.
Oh, yeah, at the doctor's office. Oh my
Hmm.
goodness. And like the doctor-patient interaction.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so that's
Sorry, my boss is on speed this morning, and I have my text messages hooked up to my computer too, so there's probably gonna be a lot of dinging.
that's totally fine. Um, I don't know how to turn my notifications off, so I might have dinging as well.
Cool. Okay.
Okay, so you're supposed to observe someone for like at least an hour and a half. Or not someone, groups of people and their interactions. Do you want to address each number and then, or each bullet point together and then go to the next one together? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
Okay.
Let me just pull it up real quick.
Okay, yeah, I'll read the question too, just so that we can.
Okay.
The first one is, who is included and who is being subtly shut out? How can you tell? So I was watching the people at the gymnastics academy that I worked at. I
Hmm.
watched the children, I watched the coaches, and I watched the parents. And the biggest, for this question, the biggest contrast that I saw was with the children, which actually
Hmm.
was kind of sad. But I have classes that have older kids and younger kids, and the older kids, they didn't do it to be mean, of course, but they definitely shut out the younger kids, especially when I asked the kids to get into groups. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll line them up tallest to smallest, and I'll group them up from there. And if they are not with someone they wanted to be with, they were vocal. And if they weren't vocal about it, they would, I mean, some kids, even with the younger kids, they would turn their body away completely and face the child or, the friend that they wanted to be with.
Hmm.
I mean, they're kids, so they're just incredibly honest. The
Yeah.
shocker for me, the ones that weren't vocal about it were the older kids, 11, 12, 13.
Hmm.
But you could definitely tell when they were, and they don't mean to be mean, but they weren't with the friend that they wanted to be with.
Yeah.
You could see it in their face. And oftentimes what I got were from 13-year-old girls, the closed arms, right?
Hmm.
How about you?
You did a lot more observation and had more interesting groups than I did, that's for sure.
Well, I mean, it's
It,
part of the job, to make sure that your kids
yeah.
are interacting.
Hmm. Now, with me, at the doctor's office, there's always groups of people that are there together. Especially this place, it was a surgical center, so you had people waiting for their loved ones, friends to come out of surgery. And so what I observed was just several groups of people, but nobody would interact with each other at all, which is very unusual because usually at a hospital or a place like this, everyone's feeling vulnerable, so they'll interact with each other just in a nervous energy sort of way. And it was odd because it wasn't the case this time. It was just, there was an old couple sitting there with his son, and then, there was this, people waiting for taxis to be there to come pick them up after their procedures were done. One group that caught my eye though was it was a young family, a father and a mother, and then their two kids. I think the son was probably maybe 10 and the daughter 13 or 14. But the daughter was just kind of off on her own most of the time, which was really interesting. The father and the brother would sit together, but she'd just kind of get up and wander around and then sit at a different spot in the waiting room all by herself.
I wonder if she was trying to practice her independence, maybe?
It could be, yes.
Or she's mad at them.
It could, yeah. Or, she was very nervous
But
because
that's
her
weird.
mom who went in for the procedure, so she didn't know how else to express it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Or she was just being a teenage girl.
Right?
Yeah.
But it is interesting how differently we express our emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay, that was awesome.
Okay. Do you want me to read the next one and go first?
Oh
Or
yeah.
just leapfrog? All right. What does the way a person sits tell you about the way that they feel? Now, this is something that was very interesting to me because, there's one gentleman that was there all by himself who just sat there with his arms closed and his head down the whole time. So you could tell he was very, very anxious, very nervous. And then when his name was called to go back into the recovery room, it was just, almost immediate sigh of relief on his face. You could tell, okay, this is over. We can move on to the next thing now. And so it was just really interesting to see how different people throughout the room sat. But with him, for him in particular, whatever reason, that stood out to me quite a bit.
Yeah. For this one, I was watching the parents. Now, mind you, I'm at a gymnastics academy,
Mm-hmm.
and you can only imagine how cliquey parents are,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have the benefit of the doubt. I know I was trying to view it from a stranger's perspective, but I couldn't because I know those parents over there have their table and they're all level 2 girls,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they're facing each other and they're watching their kids. And then these guys over here, you know, they're level 3 boys or or level 4 boys or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And they definitely sat in their little cliques. And it seemed like the ones who, for the most part, the ones who we know push their kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were very open and they kept facing the audience and their kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look at me, let me get your attention, look at my child,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And another thing we noticed, and it's really annoying, you can always tell when a parent is talking about you. And it's the same way you can tell when a child is talking when they shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I make it a habit when I think a parent is discussing something that's going on in class. Because a lot of these parents, they do gymnastics or they think that they know everything and you're always wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I make it a point to look at them when we walk by. Not in a mean way. I'll just look
Yeah.
over and look at, and you can tell, almost like when you look at a child, you can tell instantly who's talking about you. They avert their eyes, their head goes down, they
Mm-hmm.
lean towards the person that they were talking with to get that comfort.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And same thing, the kids are a little bit different. Children, I feel like, for the most part, I feel like parents, they do those things to justify it and to get comfort. And kids, they will lean towards the person they were talking with, but they also jump because they feel more, they feel like they're wrong. Their conscience is a little bit bigger, I think, than a lot of
Mm-hmm.
parents. So it's interesting.
Yeah. Very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just the cliquish nature of people, no matter what setting that they're in.
Yeah, and they turn their back to the ones that that are
Mm-hmm.
part of their group,
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yep.
Okay. What does the way a person walks tell you why? Um, the only thing I could get for this is when I tell the kids, my favorite event is bars, and I think that really trickles down to most of my students. When I say we're going to bars, they literally jump and they'll walk with a beat, it's like this.
Mm-hmm.
But when I tell them, a big chunk of my kids, and again, I think they feed off of me, a big chunk of my kids, Beam's not their favorite. If I say that we're going to Beam, they walk very slow.
Mm-hmm.
And they literally, the height of their feet tells me what they're excited about. They literally drag their feet on the ground. The kids are awesome. They are so honest in their body and what they vocalize.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Well, one lady I saw yesterday had a walker,
Oh.
and you could tell though it didn't bother her at all, and she almost wore it as a badge of honor. It wasn't. Her attitude was just one of, you know what? I've got a walker. I know I have health difficulties, but I'm getting through them. and I'm in charge of it, and it's not the other way around. In fact, she even sought out another woman who was there that hopefully I'll get a chance to talk about later, um, that also had a walker. And they started talking about their walkers. And it's like,
Oh,
just the way that she presented herself and the way that she walked, it wasn't, because a lot of people with walker, they walk, their head's kind of down and slope. Not her. She was straight up, and she's like, I know I need this to help me, and I own it.
do you know
So,
what that reminds me of?
hmm.
The Toby Keith song that you had us listen to last week.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Kind of that, yeah, this is where I am. I know.
Yep, this is what I'm doing. And, even watching her interact with the staff, just fun, bubbly personality. And,
Love it.
it's nice inspiration for one day when I'll be in a walker.
We were just talking about this 2 weeks ago. There's a gentleman at our church who's in a walker.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband's uncle said, that man makes me excited to be in a walker one day. He has it so he can sit in it.
Mm-hmm.
Storage in there.
Uh-huh.
And he's older, and I mean, there's like snacks and the stuff that he likes in there.
Yeah.
And what a way to live, right?
Mm-hmm.
Be happy about where you are in life. Enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah, my uncle has one like that. He never uses it, but he has one like that. It's great. So we use it as a chair when the whole family gets together. There's not enough chairs, and it's great.
We're all like that, though. We have so many cool things we don't use, but we have it, right?
Yep, that's true. He just needs to use it. He actually needs to use it is the problem.
So he's fighting it.
Oh, yeah. Yep. He has that. Then he has one of those little scooters, too, that he doesn't use.
We had to fight my grandpa on that when we went to Disneyland.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, we said, Grandpa, you want to come? Scooter.
Yeah. Yeah, he refuses to accept he's getting old. It's like, Uncle Ben, you can't hardly walk anymore. You're always falling. You need these things.
Yes.
Our goal is by Thanksgiving he'll actually use them. So we'll see.
Yeah, he'll be stuffed full of turkey. He'll have to use it.
Exactly. Okay, let's see. What gestures do people use in conversations, and why do they use them? Who uses gestures more in conversations, men or women? Do you notice any difference between gestures most commonly used by women and those most commonly used by men? Well, now this was interesting because it was a good mix of people yesterday. And men, and I'm one included, is I think men use their hands more when they're talking. It's like I'm trying to be good here and not use mine because it's distracting on camera. But I think men use it to kind of make their points, I think. When you're doing this, you're emphasizing what you're saying, you're trying to make your point. And and some women do that, but I don't think they use their hands to talk nearly as much. And so I think women use more contact with you. They're more willing to put your hand on their shoulder when you're talking to them about something, just things like that.
Yeah, and men do when they're mad. They do this more, I feel like.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I've done that a few times myself, and I've had that done to me a few times.
For this one, I watched the moms and the dads. Now, this was hard because we have more moms that come into the gym.
Mm-hmm.
Just how it is.
Yeah.
Right. It's just, we do have a few male coaches, and I did notice that if a male coach is giving a correction, they did this. Their arm reached out more.
Mm-hmm.
Something I noticed with women is we will touch ourselves more. We do a lot of this, a lot of touching, back and forth. And I think that's just kind of the way that we relate. And like you said, we'll put our hand on them. But I saw a lot of moms that come up to the office and we chit chat and we do this, or my child, my student, this movement. There weren't a lot of, bless you, there weren't a lot of men for me to watch, which was unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of women though. And then there was another one. I wrote it down. What, 5? No, number 4, sorry. Oh, there was a lot of, we have to talk with kids. So one that we did a lot is this or this, the big or little, I need a big cartwheel. Your cartwheel's here. Or big, little, and then direction. We do direction, you know, this, over there. And when I laugh, we go to Disneyland a lot. I mentioned that last week. And something that I try to do every time I come back from Disneyland, I always do this. At Disneyland, they don't point with their finger. They use their hand.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Come back from Disneyland, I'm always doing this with my kids. So, okay. Number 6. I don't have an answer for this one.
I don't have one either.
No, okay. I feel like this is so...
I'm old and out of practice, and so I wouldn't even know how to answer it.
Right? It's who uses more eye contact, men or women. I feel like it just varies per person, per child.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to generalize, but per race, I feel like some of my parents, they make it a practice with their kids, if their children are talking to me, to tell them to look me in the eyes, and other ones, they just, you know, don't care.
Yeah.
Right? I've noticed that a lot.
Well, I think it's also a generational thing in how you're raised.
Yes.
Because I know, you know, my father was very, very traditional, and so when you spoke to somebody, you always, you know, welcome them. You know, you shook their hand at the beginning and the end of the conversation. You always said their name a couple of times. You always looked them right in the eye. You know, but my in-laws, they didn't. And so I think it's really just, and it doesn't, I think, go up with, you know, the boys versus the girls on this, because my sister does the same way, because again, that's how we were raised. And I've never seen a difference in life really of, you know, who gives me better eye contact. You know, just, again, I really think it's more a generational thing than a gender thing.
I have a lot of parents, and I love when they do this. It always throws me off, though. I'll be talking with them, and then I like to make eye contact and look back and forth between the parent and the child. That's, the parents are business, but the child's my interest. And a lot of some parents, they will make sure they'll in the conversation to make sure the child addresses me by name. You know, your coach D, and that they're using eye contact. You know, and we don't shake hands, but we'll high five. And it's the same. We always high five, or we hug, or, you know, we show some. And I feel like that goes with the gestures, right? Yeah,
it does. You know, and that's what we do with my primary class. You know, we high five at the end of the class instead of shake hands or anything else.
Right. And I feel like it gets them used to that cultural, you know, I don't know, cultural goodbye.
Yeah.
Okay. So we read number 7?
Yeah, let's see. Who uses more space, men or women?
I have a total answer.
This thing I didn't notice that much yesterday at all with space. It seemed to be pretty equal. And then just thinking of my personal life, I haven't really noticed.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know. It was just something I just haven't ever really paid attention to. Or, you know, I mean, I've got an example of an extreme use of space, which was when I was 16, I was working for my uncle in Detroit. And one of his employees was one of those people that when he talked to you, he had good eye contact, but he had to be just right in your face the whole time he was talking to you. It drove me nuts. And so, but other than that, I really couldn't, I guess I just don't pay enough attention to that.
I feel like, well, I mean, and again, it varies from person to person. For the most part, though, I feel like, I don't know. Now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like it's just if you like someone. I feel like women get closer, but again, that could be because I'm a woman, right?
Yeah.
Right? Maybe that's what it is too. I do feel like women get closer, unless they don't like me.
Then they turn your back.
I'm like, yeah. But yeah, that one's kind of like number 6. It just depends.
Yeah, I think it's a cultural thing. I'm sure if we were in a different country, it'd be completely different.
Yes, I have some students that have parents that are from, you know, other places, or grandparents, and it's so different. Oh my goodness. And we were reading about the breath thing. I had some grandparents that did that. And it was different, you know?
Yeah.
I kind of froze up a little bit. I didn't know what to do. Like, okay. Ready for number 8?
I'm ready.
I have stuff for number 8. What can you tell about a person by their physical appearance, by what they carry or bring with them? And this, we have to be very sensitive at the gym because every child that comes in, we trial them, see where they should be. And then, now the hard part is sometimes it's not always what the parent wants or what they can afford. And so, I mean, this sounds awful, but it's hard, but sometimes we have to wait to see how the parent is or how the child is. And the child might be incredibly talented, but, you know, we're not certain the parent can afford the class that we think they should be in. And so just as a safe rule, we always talk with the parent in private without the child and explain the prices of the class that we think they should be in. And then we always tell them the price of, you know, the most basic class. But we look at the parent and kind of, and the child, you know, are they wearing a leotard that's from, you know, GE, or are they wearing a Target leotard? That's nothing, you know, things like that. Is a child, and that's the thing too when we're coaching them, is the child well groomed? Is the child being taken care of? If they're an unruly child and they are, you know, if you've seen a child that has crazy hair and is kind of a little wild child, and then you look at the parent and they're the same way, I feel like sometimes it helps us to see that, and then we take a step back and we coach them a little bit differently because maybe they're not being met, you know? But we do look at the child and the parent, and then it explains a lot of their behavior. Right? Or, you know, if the child is really high maintenance and you look at the parent and they're very high maintenance, it's like, okay, this kid's not going to get gritty. They're not going to put their hand in the chalk, and they're not going to be super active. They're probably going to do a very mellow version of whatever I'm having them do in class.
Right. Yeah. That's something I noticed at the hospital yesterday. You know, that family I mentioned, you know, you could tell that they were sports fans. They all had their ASU Sun Devil shirts on because they had a big win unfortunately over the weekend. But, you know, you could just tell. And looking around the room, you know, you had older couples there that, you know, you could tell they were from a different generation because they were dressed up. You know, the husband was in a suit because he was taking his wife to the doctor, and that's what he did growing up. You could tell. And, you know, through that, but I'm always very, very cautious with this because I'm the kind of guy, you know, right now I'm like in a hat and a t-shirt and shorts, but then, you know, and this is what I call my office attire because I work from home. But then when I go to court, you know, I'm dressed up to the nines and I've got my suit on and everything. And so, you know, you can tell a lot by somebody with how they dress, but there are also chameleons out there that do their best, that, you know, if they don't have a lot of money, they'll do their best to pretend that they do have money. You know, and just the opposite. The people that do have money will do their best to not show that they have money.
Yeah.
So
it's hard.
It is, but a lot of it also is the way that they carry themselves.
Yes.
You know, and you know, I'm trying to think of a good example yesterday, but you know, again, that family, you could tell they were good middle income people, would be my guess, just because, you know, yeah, the daughter wandered, but they were both really well behaved. So I know at that age, there's no way you could have put me in a doctor's office and kept me calm like that. There's no, you know, I'm sure my mom's got great stories to tell about that. Her many attempts at that. So, okay, let's see. How do humans show territory? This one is always interesting whenever you go to where there's a group, especially in a doctor's office or some sort of a waiting room, because I know when I walked in, the first thing I looked for was, where are there no people?
Yes.
And that's, I found a row almost all by myself. That's where I sat. And it was also, in the back of the room against the wall. So I could, with this assignment in mind, so see there I go with my hands. You can't see. So I could observe everybody, but still the initial reaction was, I'm in a bad mood. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want anyone looking at me. I want to look at them and observe them. And so I just found a spot by myself. And as I watched different people come in, everybody almost said the exact same thing. It's like, okay, where aren't there people? That's where I'm going to sit. I didn't see anybody willingly sit next to somebody else because there are plenty of seats open. It was very interesting that we still do that. A lot of it is, I think, for protection. Just a basic instinct of, I don't know what you're going to do, how you're going to be, so I'm going to sit over here to protect myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or put your purse next to you so no one's.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are awful in the gym. We really are. My anxiety comes sometimes from my interactions with other coaches. The team kids, they have a schedule. And that's awesome. They know when they're going to be on vault. They know when they're going to be on bars. They know when they're going to be at each station.
Mm-hmm.
I don't coach team. So happy I don't. I coach the rec program, and we don't have a schedule. So we go wherever there's space.
Mm-hmm.
There's a coach who also doesn't have a schedule, but she does in her head. And that's where the problems start.
Mm-hmm.
So what she does is she comes in 15 minutes early, and she sets up stations everywhere. On the vault, on the bars, and on the beam. Now, I come in and I say, you cannot set up stations everywhere, right? You can't do that.
Yeah.
Her class is 2 hours long, so you have plenty of time to reset this up. Mine's an hour.
Yeah.
So something that we do, it's a little thing that I've been there for 8 years. Wherever we want to start first, we stand next to, and we coach next to, and we make constant eye contact with. And something that we also do, and you mentioned this a little bit, it's how we stand. So I will stand a little bit taller.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I do it, and it's just something that I realize afterwards. I stand taller and I face something I want to start on,
Yeah.
Or if I'm at where I want to start, I'll stand in the middle of it, and I'll make myself bigger, and I'll make my class spread out in that area.
Yeah.
Right?
You're demonstrating, this is my space, back off.
Yeah. And like you said, it's just like in nature, right? And this is my group, and we're here.
Yep.
What number is number 9? We use objects, our body, eye contact. And then if I don't, the opposite is, if I'm not going to go somewhere and she walks by and it's big, I avert my eyes and I'm smaller, and I kind of face the direction of where we will be going.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very, there's no verbal communication really. Sometimes if I've set something up, I'll say, hey, I'm starting here, but most of the time it's with everything else. Every other part of our existence we will use to make sure we get what we want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very true.
Isn't that weird?
Yep. Yeah, it's weird but true. Just with evolution, we still have all these basic instincts that we don't even recognize what we're doing. So they just happen.
And then number 10 is kind of the same way. It says, how do humans show power, dominance, and submission? Kind of mentioned that already, right?
We kind of talked about that. How we do these nonverbal displays of I'm here, back off. Like you said, putting your purse next to the chair next to you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do that with my bag or whatever I've got. Where, hey, don't sit next to me. This seat's being used by my computer.
Or you'll cross your legs. I cross my legs and I put it really far.
Yeah.
My foot's in the way. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's all those little things that, especially if, you're on a Southwest flight, you'll sit on the aisle to make sure no one gets the road with you.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then that way you can move over to the window seat and have the whole aisle just to yourself.
Yes. My kids too, there's 2 times I notice it the most. I tell them to line up. Even though they know I'm going to have someone be the leader, I always do.
Mm-hmm.
There's always those few kids that will run and then they use their shoulders, right?
Yeah.
This movement or their elbow. And then the same thing the only time I'm very loose and relaxed usually about who's going to be first. I like to have order with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Is when we go to the tumble track, and they know that. And so I'll say, all right, guys, let's go to the tumble track. And oh my goodness, sometimes they do have to intervene because if I have 2 or 3 dominant kids in that class,
Mm-hmm.
they'll be up there, and some of them are sneaky. They're doing little elbow jabs. And these kids are 4. They're 4. Or I don't allow whispering in my class because it's never nice.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, whisper. I mean, I know that's verbal, but
yeah, but still, if you're whispering, that implies you don't want anyone else to hear what you're saying.
yeah, and
it's not going to be good for everybody in the group.
Yes, or me.
Yeah.
Right. Ooh. Okay, I have some fun stories for number 11. Do you want to read it? Oh, did I read the last one?
Let's see. Yeah. Is that as a group discuss your feelings?
Sorry, I numbered this on my computer. Yes, I forgot it wasn't numbered. Yes.
Oh, okay. Let's see. As your group discuss your feelings, do your findings agree with those of others in your group? As a group discuss the rules of touching. Imagine that a friend from another country comes to you for help. He understands that the rules that govern touching vary culture to culture. He certainly wants to give offense, or doesn't want to give offense or be perceived as creepy, so he asks you the rules. As a group, create a document that outlines the rules of touch in your culture. If some of your groups are from different cultures, be sure to point out where the rules vary. Describe the rules of touch in the following relationships below. In each case, point out the gender of participants also affects the rules. So we have an adult and a 5-year-old child, an adult and a 12-year-old, 2 good friends, a boss and employee, and a college professor and a student. Okay, so you've got a good story. I'll let you go.
So I have this awesome family, and I can't remember. I think they're from Argentina or somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And when they first came in, they weren't standoffish, but they were definitely trying to see how I would be with their daughter, and their daughter was 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I love her. I love her so much. She's a little bit naughty. She's what I call a runner. And I think it's a runner. Or she's a runner. She runs off. And it's not malicious. It's just she wants to explore.
Mm-hmm.
She's a sweet girl. I did my absolute best. And now she, like a month in, she's been with me for almost a year. A month in, I had her to where she wasn't running anymore. And the parents, and I've never had this before, the parents they were so happy and overcome with joy that they each took me by the shoulders and they kissed me.
Mm-hmm.
Cheek, forehead, right? And it was I've had this before with like family friends or our family, but to have it happen at work was so out of place for me. It was the weirdest thing. It really was, right? It was at work, and
yeah,
it was just so strange, but I love it. It's just a fun story now.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, and it was the dad and then the mom. They kind of like passed me around. It was awesome.
That is cool. I know for me, my grandparents emigrated from the States or from Sweden to the States. So they brought their culture with them. And it was, it's a standoffish culture. And so there weren't a lot of hugs from my father's parents, But my mother's parents, on the other hand, they were as American as you would get. Leave me alone. And and so it was constantly, hugs from both of them and encouragement and everything that you would expect, grandparents to be. Then, you'd go to the other grandparents' house and it was just the opposite, where, you were encouraged, children were seen but not heard ever.
Mm-hmm.
So we weren't allowed to talk or anything. It was really boring, but it was interesting just to see just how the different cultures raised their children and treated their grandchildren. And it helped me when I got married because my father-in-law is an immigrant from Holland.
Okay.
And a lot of the times my brothers and sister-in-laws and even my wife don't understand how he acts. And so that experience has been just helpful for me to help them out with their relationship with him.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, he doesn't talk to you a lot. That's his culture. That's the European culture. What we will take 10 words to say like I'm doing now, they'll say it in 5 and then be done with it. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah, sometimes it is.
Yeah.
So let's see, with the kids, I know, I don't have kids. So I don't, I've got nieces and nephews that I rarely see because they're in a different state. And so with kids, my only reference really is my primary class that are a little bit older than 5. They're 9. But that's one of the reasons we started the high fives. Just because I didn't know what was appropriate or not. And I was like, we'll do the high 5. That's usually not a big deal at all. And then, a 12-year-old, I'll just run through these and then you can if you want.
Yeah.
A 12-year-old, I think that's old enough to where I told you he's on speed this morning.
I can't hear it, if that makes you feel better.
Oh, okay, good.
I have a fan going, so I think maybe it's blocking it.
Oh, I keep my phone on just silent vibrate all day long.
Okay.
Otherwise I'll get mad. And so she's over here, bzz, 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 bzz. I'm like, dude, just stop. Anyway, 12-year-old, I think that's old enough to, shake hands. Most of the deacons that I know and the young men, I just shake their hands. And then 2 good friends. It really depends on if it's a guy or a girl. My absolute best friend in the world after my wife is a woman that I've known since we were 12 years old. She was my first friend when I moved down here.
Aww.
And when we get together, we hug. And our spouses understand we've been friends since they were both in the picture. And so they get that. But she's actually the only, woman that I would do that to on a regular basis. Usually I'm just a handshake kind of guy. And it'd be the same thing with, with bosses that I've had. It's always been handshake. I definitely make sure to look them in the eye when I'm talking to them, show them respect. When I worked for the state, I was working for the Supreme Court, and particularly the clerk of the court. And so it was always, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, just showing the respect of their position more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
And the professors that I've had where I've actually interacted with professors has been a lot of that same way. Just, a lot of yes, sir, handshake, yes, ma'am, look them in the eye, just show them the respect that they deserve from that position.
We have, I agree with you. And the adult and the 5-year-old child, I feel like the only difference is between male and female,
Yeah.
I feel like a female could hug the child.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like for males, maybe just a high five. Definitely no kisses.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, and it's like, it's like my primary class, we have a window that looks inside of our classroom. And so and my wife could teach them on her own, but I'm not allowed to.
Okay.
And so that's, another thing that I'm always very completely aware of is, hey kids, let's do high five. Let's not even give the appearance that anything is going on.
Yeah. Some of my 5-year-olds do still try to kiss me, you know. Most of 4-year-olds, by the time they're 5, they're pretty good. Unless the ones that still try, I've noticed, are the ones that are from other countries.
Yeah.
So that's something that, you know, you have to.
Yeah, you have to explain the cultural difference
Yeah.
too.
This is just something that it makes me laugh, but we have to stop always with from 4 to 5, 3, 4, 5. The 3-year-olds, they still hold my leg and they press their face into my booty, right? They would do to mom.
Yeah, yeah.
4 and 5-year-olds, I have to sometimes they don't understand. New. He just wasn't our boss new at work, and it's interesting to see this coach of the boss says he's from China, and he actually almost made it onto the Olympic team for gymnastics.
Wow.
Yeah, and you can just imagine, very respected, very revered. Being on time, I laugh, and I often try to joke with him. And still stay respected. Yeah, I would work in an inappropriate manner. Like some days I have too many kids in my class, but that's not my fault. And so he comes over to address this. I mean, I'll have 13 kids. We can't have 13 4-year-olds in a class. And I always laugh with them. I say, Coach Ray, I'm just very well liked, you know. And I try to laugh, and he doesn't. Whereas the other coach, I mean, the other boss we have, he's new. He'll go surfing with his employees, you know. He has some of his employees watching his children, babysitting them outside of work.
Yeah.
Interesting difference between them. And the funny thing is, I feel like I can go to either of them.
That's good though.
Yeah.
You recognize their differences and how either one could help you at any time.
I usually go to both of them just because I feel like that might get what I have to say across a little bit more better. They both hear it from me, but it is interesting to see the difference in their coaching. I do feel like with the one that's a little bit more friendly, I'm not saying more friendly, they're both friendly, but with the one that fosters more of a friendship with us, I feel like sometimes the line is a little blurred, you know?
Yeah.
You definitely feel that. So.
Yeah, and that's the thing, you know, kind of new age bosses like that, where they aren't quite sure where that line is. And they're more interested in being your friend than they are your boss.
Right. So when it does come time to, I don't want to say discipline us, but to explain something.
Yeah, it makes it harder for you to accept because it's, well, wait a minute, I thought we were friends. Why are you coming down so hard on me?
Yeah, my husband and I, we haven't allowed that friendship to happen. I feel like we're both more comfortable with a boss who is solely a boss. I mean, I am. I feel that way. I want to feel like I can come to you, but at the same time, I want to feel like, you know, there's a line.
Yeah.
And
I know in my current situation, it's a little different because I am my own boss. And so I treat, you know, the attorney that I work with mainly, you know, we're more friends and colleagues than a traditional boss-employee relationship. And so it's really kind of a hybrid of everything, which is really, really odd sometimes because, like, we'll talk a lot during the weekends, but it won't be about work at all. You know, we're both big sports fans, so we'll be watching different games and talking, going back and forth about them. And I think it kind of drives my wife crazy. It's like, you guys talk all week and all weekend. You guys need a break from each other.
Well, see, and I think it's important that you said it's not about work.
Yeah.
I feel the other coaches, they are spending time like barbecuing and hanging out with them, and they do talk about work. So when they present what they've talked about with me, it does feel a little bit weird, you know? Shouldn't you be, it's different.
Yeah. It's one thing for the group, you know, for everyone to get together and go have drinks or something after work.
Yeah. Well, I think
Certain,
that's important too, the age difference.
yes.
Right?
Yeah.
There is an age difference.
Yeah. It's like Matt and I were the exact same age, had a lot of the same life experiences. So for us, it's easy. And plus, you know, since, you know, I'm a contract worker, then I'm trying to keep him as my customer happy also. And I'm trying to build that relation, you know, continue to build that relationship with a customer.
Yes.
And he's just an easygoing guy. So usually.
That's so nice. Okay, so for an adult and a 5-year-old, I have female, hug, high five, no kisses.
Mm-hmm.
Male, high five, no kisses. An adult and a 12-year-old, female, high five, no kisses. Male, high five, handshake, no kisses. The no kisses thing is very important to me because of that situation.
Yes.
Right, and other places, you know.
Mm-hmm.
2 good friends. For females, I have hug and wave.
Mm-hmm.
For female and male, I have hug, wave. And then for male and male, I have hug, wave, high five.
Handshake.
Handshake. Yes, I didn't think about that one.
Yeah. I'm big on handshakes. That's just because that's how I was raised.
I'm glad we have you in the group because I wouldn't have even thought of that. I feel like women don't really high five to greet each other.
No.
Instead of a hug or a wave.
Yeah.
Oh, what about a head nod?
Yeah. Head nods are, yep.
Boston employee. For female and male, I have handshake, show respect, no kisses.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, they're all kind of the same, right?
Yeah.
Male.
Yeah, they are. Even down to the nod, you know.
I don't know if I would. I feel like that I don't want to put nod just because it depends on the boss, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I wouldn't nod at the one boss I told you about, Coach
Yeah.
Rick. College professor and students, I just put professional handshake, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's it right there.
Okay. Now it says that we have to do a document on this.
Yes.
Can it be bullet point? I think I'll have to read the rubric. I don't know if it needs to be bullet point or.
Let me see.
Right?
I don't remember seeing anything about bullet points in there. Let me look though.
Okay. Do we have to write it out?
Oh, I don't even see the rubric for it. Where's the rubric? Yeah, I don't even see if there is a rubric for it.
Okay.
So I think we would be okay to just do bullet points.
Right? I feel like it'd be weird and unnecessary to type this out.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, Carl, we've done it.
Yep. Oh, cool.
All right, I'll post this right now.
Okay. Cool. Thank you for recording it again too.
Yes. Do you want to, or you led last week, so maybe Diana can lead next week?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I think it's her turn.
We'll make sure.
I think she'll be back.
Yeah, make sure she's not too overwhelmed. If she is, then I don't mind doing it.
If she is, yeah, you could do her. Even I can jump ahead, just leapfrog her.
Cool. All right. Bye, Carl.
All right. Bye. Have a good